You have an internet connection. You have internet connection.
Probably. The new one.
But now,
So, and they got messages in it. I don't use the internet here really. My music's downloaded. I don't have a let's see if that's everything. The only thing I might do is normally do from here. So,
I actually like the
so Josh, nice hip adduction.
I've kind of neglected this because I'm
They are good for
doing those 5-minute ones. The thing that actually got me is the tightness there is really bad at the beginning.
Yeah.
It subsides, and then it's my adductors and my
which means,
hips that are tight.
which means that it might be other issues which is causing that to overcompensate.
Makes sense. Makes sense because it's minor. It's enough to put you off. It's like it's a tightness. It's a pulling. It feels like it will become pain, like really bad pain.
Yeah.
So it's the only way I can describe it. I can't really. It's a weird feeling.
So Josh, what is the saint of today?
What?
What is the saint of today? Saint Pope Paul the Sixth.
Oh, I'm like out of it. Can you give me some background on that?
With your phone. Do you have your phone? Have a look.
That's just the big thing. Is I can't remember where we knew this. I'm reading up on Theodora.
Theodora,
Have you heard of
a study,
Justinian?
the believing queen, a study of Syriac historiographical tradition.
She was a Monophysite, so technically not okay.
Saint Paul the Sixth.
Come on.
So that's a recent pope.
He could have watched Star Wars.
Born September 1897. So he was the pope who.
No, 63.
He was the pope who watched over Vatican II, I think.
No, after.
After Vatican II. So he was the pope just after Vatican II. Vatican II was 62.
It was 66. It's 566.
So then he
His
was pope.
Majesty
His papacy began in 63. So he would have been the
no,
pope.
that is true.
He was the pope who oversaw it. The pope who, oversaw Vatican II. And of course, we know there's a bit of controversy around that. Vatican II. I mean, there's it's an ecumenical council, right? So this is what I find tricky at the moment is because obviously what's been popular at the moment is like traditional Catholicism, which is pushing into sedevacantism, but then you've also got like the Novus Ordo kind of getting carried away. It's like it's a little bit different in this country because this country has been under more persecution, but particularly in Europe, like Rome has had more of a pushback against the Latin Mass and against things that were prior to the reforms of Vatican II. Well, there is some drama associated with not Pope Paul VI, but the cardinal that works with him, because he was busy a lot of the time, and so I think it was one of the cardinals spoke on his behalf when it came to a lot of the instruction, and there was some controversy around him. I don't know if it was like he was found to be a Freemason or something, or like have an association with the Freemasons, but there was definitely some Freemasonic influence very high up in the church that was happening. So, I mean, it's interesting that he was canonized and considered a saint, because that really pushes back against like the sedevacantism, because the church has made that pope who oversaw Vatican II a saint, which is probably not too pleasing for people who believe that it was an invalid council.
Which would surprise me. I know people do.
I mean, sedevacantism does differ by like councils and by dates and stuff, but generally I think a lot of people have been like, well, Vatican II, so much changed during Vatican II, and even more than that, the way that it was implemented on a diocesan level.
The thing is, opposition and issues coming from ecumenical councils and there's nothing new. Chalcedon, I mentioned.
Yeah, there's always been
that
some
came out of
controversy.
vacancies with Chalcedon, and people disagreeing about really quite minute theological issues.
Yeah, I mean during the
Nicene
Nicene
vague by councils,
during Nicaea, like Arianism was hugely prevalent, and there were issues that were happening prior to Vatican II, which Vatican II helped to reform because there was still a lot of cultural Catholicism, cultural Christianity, which wasn't actual, like, it wasn't focused around the church in a way that Vatican II was supposed to be a new springtime and was supposed to bring back that depth.
Well, that's the thing
faith.
you have to do whenever you assess. This isn't just theological stuff. Just in general. When something tries to do something, it should assess what it was aiming to do, not necessarily on what its outcomes were. There's loads of things we go, if we do this, this will happen. And that might be true, but there might be second order consequences of that. When, down the line, it's that caused this. And there was no way you could have foreseen that beforehand. You had to do it. And yes, then you can make assessments.
I mean, like, this happened with the Reformation, right? Because there was issues surrounding indulgences, and there was actually as far as I'm aware, there was a council that was held to publicly condemn those kind of practices that were going wrong. Yeah, because it was happening on a lower level, and the church found out about it, and then it took time for them to actually acknowledge it and publicly condemn it. And then things like Trent and all the things that followed happenings on a lower level.
There's some reactions. So I have a few friends who denomination-wise, they're quite hard to pin down. But, one of them says he's Lutheran because he believes 99% of the teachings of the Catholic Church, but he just feels that the institution of the church has become corrupt, mainly through historical.
And there's a lot of that inside of Sedevacantism, right? And that's the problem which people are overlooking to some extent, which is maybe to a lesser extent, like there's traditional Catholics which are trying to hold on to the traditional parts of the church which are allowed, because that's where there's a lot of strength in the faith. But Sedevacantism is one of those repeat things which is, I don't agree with what's happening with the institution of the church, which is the visible church as well as the invisible church. And I don't agree with it, so I'm going to go off and do my own thing. And there's a limit to that, right? Because there's different levels to that. You have the SSPX, which was Sedevacantist, but has been acknowledged as not being in schism from Rome. But that's been an action on Rome's part to avoid the scandal brought about by that.
This is the problem with institutions, big institutions in general, is that you get internal politics.
But then leaving that brings scandal, because you make a disagreement and then you make it publicly known, and then you use it as a reasoning to pull people away from the institution, which is not. If you actually look at the history of the church, there's been huge problems. Like, Arianism was so prevalent at the time, and people were pulled away from the church by Arianism and pulled away by disagreements with other councils.
With that is that most of the beliefs of it is because it was Germanic tribes, and they were apostatized by Arians first, outside of the Roman Empire, which was the Christian world at the time, the small minority in Persia, who they actually named. A lot of them were Nestorian, so they were long out there.
And that is happening. That is happening with Sedevacantism to some extent, which is that with a lot of the traditional Catholicism, like, a lot of it is conservative Catholicism. It's tied into politics when it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
The focus is not on the church, but it's the conservative aspect of the church rather than a holistic approach to the church. And Sedevacantists have made a lot of reach. They've gone really far with a lot of their views.
This is what I was saying with the
because it's politicized, and that's part of the deeper problem, which is the politicization of the church.
That's what I'm saying. Is that, corruption's coming the initial goals of an institute. I mean, this is regardless of positive. Really designed for, but all it takes is a few bad apples, the wrong attitudes getting in to come to. And
That's not to say that all sedevacantist are,
no, I'm not saying whether
because a lot of them are misinformed or scandalized by following other people.
or they have genuine concerns.
Genuine concerns because there were a lot of issues with the way that Vatican II was implemented. It's not to say that Vatican II in itself was wrong.
And that's and the thing is, institutions like that, institutions survive like that by allowing discussions of that freely and openly. And I think that's one of the historically, especially problems Catholic churches actually suffer with, is that people disagree or want to discuss something and it shut down. And
that's happened with the synods. You've got bishops on one side when it comes to fiducia supplicans talking about homosexuality in the church, and you've got bishops on one side saying, "Oh, the document just means gay marriage," and then you've got other bishops on the other side saying, "This document is gay marriage, so we're just going to deny it," without reading the document and
against
implementing it correctly, because it has been abused on both sides. This is just what happens.
well, it happens with it happens in politics as well.
And a big part of that is the politicization of the church.
This is a human nature, a unique institutional problem, and it's human nature to have your opinions or whatever, and make things fit rather than seek the truth, follow the truth, which sometimes is upsetting very deeply because you have a worldview and then you look up some facts, some statistics or whatever, or and it's say, oh, I was wrong, and that's scary because people don't like being wrong. It's we want to think that we know how the world works and we're right, when we're probably completely wrong.
Well, the church as a whole, you have the visible church and the invisible church, and there's also this battle between the focus of the two. Because you've got Protestantism, which is very much pushed back against the visibility. Relationship. I'm gonna do my sets. I've got 2 more sets. Anyway.
Do you want to go to a comment somewhere where we'll be quiet so we don't disturb? I'll be with you in a second.
Yeah, no. Well, I did. Yeah. I got people like you guys in like take that. Last one. Come on. Yes.
Because that's what I am seeing more of that in our parish. That there is, again, they brought that and mass back at Westminster Cathedral very, very recently. Westminster Cathedral would be a good place to go because they just brought it back, like recently.
It's a beautiful building.
Neo-Byzantine. There's the Byzantine aspect of it as well because they're trying to fill the whole place with like mosaics. They're trying to fill the whole interior with mosaics. It's taking a long time.
I haven't been in there yet.
They have I think it's like sharp domes. It's not round. It's not like Brompton Oratory. It's got a big dome because no, it's not. Well, it's so it has like a couple of pillars with like domes at the top. And I think the centre of it looks like that as well. It is nice. It is nice. Particularly because it has a bunch of rooms. There's a bunch of small chapels around the side. The main, it's not like it has a tabernacle. This is the focus. The tabernacle is up the side. But it's like everyday adoration kind of thing. Because it's the cathedral, right? And when they have usually a cathedral, they'll have the tabernacle at the side because when the bishop is present, the bishop is supposed to act in persona Christi, so that takes precedence over. And so it's different when it comes to a cathedral, or when it's with an archdiocese and when the archbishop is present, yeah. Or bishop or archbishop, I think. Cathedrals in general. Yeah. But yeah, I haven't been to the Latin Mass at Westminster as of yet. Well, the Brompton Oratory is very nice. But the one Brompton Oratory is counter-reformationary, so it's very focused on not the vernacular and not too much change. It's inspired by Italy. Like the oratories and the oratorians are very much St. Philip Neri and his visit to Italy, the inspiration that he took with him. So like that, but I have seen some of that, like even Canon Bill, he's used a bit of plain chant there. Like Father Stephen, he uses quite a lot of the plain chant in English, but I've seen Father Bill starting to do it as well. Quite nice. He did it at the end of Mass. I think it was at Pentecost. He did it. Yeah. It was also unexpected because it was right at the end of Mass that he did it during the dismissal. And it was because it was the end of the Easter season. That's why he did it. The end of Easter tide. But it's like that's what I hope will happen with general parishes. We move back to spending more time at St. Joseph, and it's like hopefully there's positive influences to be taken from traditional Catholicism which can be brought in on a personal and diocesan level, which doesn't have to mean going to the SSPX, going to these other kind of groups, or going to a special church in London. Like, it can actually be on a personal level, but like not carried away.
Yeah, going to the extreme.
Because you have the SSPX, which is or was sedevacantist in Wimbledon, so it's close. And it's closer than a lot of the Latin Mass in London. It's convenient for a lot of people. I bumped into a guy in Epsom who goes to the one in Wimbledon. I was talking about it with him. It was like, there's good stuff happening with St. Joseph, and ideally, that will continue. And just take inspiration of the new kind of conversion which is happening. This is a move to more tradition, but not to the extreme. Obviously, we're cradle Catholic, so it's different for us. So there are a lot of converts who are going to the extremes because they're being led a lot. Not by family influence necessarily, and not by people around them, but by a lot of what they're seeing.
So it's the couple of line so everyone goes to the extremes. Might take time to
People think because I'm following Christ, it doesn't matter if I go to the extremes because I'm following Christ. But the devil will always try to find a way in, and the devil uses extremes. So even if you think you're doing really, really good, that is where it can creep in. That's happened with me with deeper conversion even. Well, because I try to take inspiration from a lot of these new converts, but they are extreme in a lot of ways. In ways that aren't actually right. Obviously, this has happened in our friendship group to some extent. There has been more of a feeling of like Owen messaging, "Happy Easter, my Catholics." Right? It has been part of conversation, and that's what I like about talking to you as well, is that you grounded me in a lot of things, which I otherwise wouldn't have been grounded in.
I think going back to the whole people don't have to spend time with each other personally or mentally. The nature of alcoholism is the most extreme thing.
Yeah.
So therefore, when it's about beliefs or opinions or something,
A lot of people are reaching Catholicism. God is reaching through them on the internet because they're on the internet all the time, and so that's where He reaches them. It's not necessarily how it used to be. There's an opportunity for it to be more widespread, as it's being, but it's not. It's unique in that way that it's not. It's happening way larger scale than it's ever been. The internet's also kind of reached this depth where it's reached that philosophical level. It's so widespread that it's permeated deep into society, that those things from society become prevalent. And then those things are being picked up on wide scale. And the internet's becoming more widespread. I think I've mentioned this before maybe, but Africa is very religious, and as Africa becomes more on the internet, African values will become more prevalent. The church has been growing in Africa, and there online, making it spread everywhere else.
I'm pretty sure if I only I've only got for half an hour.
So yeah.
Hello.
Cool.